And welcome to sunny Silverstone in the UK for round 3 of the ESCORS European Le Mans Series. This is the 2 hours of Silverstone. I'm Sean Pivick. Alongside me is Sean Pitchin in the booth.
Hello, hello.
Hello, Sean. We have John as our producer, as always, and JD Webb as our engineer. As I said, we're on for 2 hours today. And we have about 30 cars to take place in this race.
It's looking like about 30 cars, a little bit shorter compared to what we had last week, but or last event, but still quite a good field.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have all of the heads of the field still here.
Yeah,
two pit stops we think today for most of the cars, but we've heard some rumblings otherwise for the Corvettes maybe.
Yeah, some of the folks in the Corvettes getting a bit ballsy with it and think that perhaps one stop is all that's going to be necessary. Not really sure what to read into it, but I guess we'll see what happens as the race unfolds and see who adopts the best strategy.
Yeah, we have a much shorter pit lane this week than we had 3 weeks ago at Spa-Francorchamps. So 2 stops may not quite be the penalty that you would think compared. We'll have to play out and see just how slowly they have to go to make 1 stop if anybody goes for it.
Yeah, exactly. Much shorter pit lane here this week in Silverstone. It's going to be a great event, and yeah, a lot of the action should be settled on track, vice the 5-mile or seemingly 5-mile pit road that we had at the Spa 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah, thank goodness we don't have that guy back. Speaking of Spa, let's give a quick recap of last week's race.
Yeah, great event with lots of drama on track and with pit strategy as well.
Yeah, perhaps the most notable incident was the race for the LMP1 lead between Roderick Kroijnen and Timo Ivinen. Kroijnen just coming out of the pit lane, Ivinen just dive bombs down the inside, takes out Steven Overgaard in the Corvette and himself as well. Roderick Kroijnen amazingly got through without much damage and went on to win the race in the LMP1.
Yeah, it was absolutely crazy way. I mean, he had the whole race the whole time and then just threw it away with a silly mistake.
In GT1, Anders Dahl looked to be out of it early after an early pit stop, just 30 minutes in. He took a normal-sized stint for a second stint, but we thought there was no way he was going to make it on fuel without stopping again. Well, he proved all of us wrong, and not only won the race, but won it convincingly after both Farouk Manzar and David Garcia had their issues.
Yeah, real troubles for David Garcia as he looked set to take the win. Connectivity issues took him out, and yeah, Anders Dahl really gambled on the fuel strategy, and it paid off for him.
Bjorn Spindle in P1 had an early spin at the bus stop, lap 1 actually, and a recovery drive for all 2 hours and 24 minutes of the race. And it came down to a last lap pass coming out of the bus stop down to the start-finish line over Nick Thyssen, which usually say GTs give the best racing, but, well, Bjorn and Nick proved us wrong there.
Yeah, early mistake for Spindle. Luckily for him, it happened very early on, and he was a man on a mission as he just charged, honestly, taking no prisoners, using all of the racetrack and then some to take a spectacular second place result there at Spa on the last lap pass there.
And in GT2, what can you say? Nick Verstappen, absolutely dominant. He had the pace that he had in Sebring, managed to keep it clean, actually had a completely clean, zero-incident race at Spa-Francorchamps.
Yeah, that's
which is an achievement in and of itself.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely right. It's an amazing achievement not to get any incidents at Spa, and then to put on the kind of clinic that he did without any incidents. I mean, it was a real testament. It's one of the best, one of the best drives I think I've ever seen, honestly. And I mean, it was just really good. At a loss for words, honestly.
Yeah, you just can't say how good that was.
Yeah, I mean, I've known for a long time that it's just real hard to keep all the wheels right, but I mean to do it for what over 2 hours without one incident. I mean that's just amazing.
Absolutely. Coming back to this week and a little bit of last week too. You remember we were trying to get a lap last week, 3 weeks ago at Spa. We were trying to get a lap in the Ford GT. Unfortunately, both Sean and myself threw it at the berries rather hard. We asked for it again for the car this week, since we need to give equal love. They absolutely refused us. So what we'll do instead is take a ride along with Nick Verstegen on his pole lap. While we wait for that lap to come up, let's talk about a couple more storylines we have. The Agates-Beckett's Chapel complex, we sort of expected to be pretty straightforward for the prototypes to go through. But that assumed that the prototypes were on high downforce. They're not. As a result, Reuter Kreunen has told us with the medium downforce, the outside move that used to work for the prototypes no longer works there. So we might see a real big slowdown for guys, for the prototypes at least, in that Agates-Beckett's Chapel area. It could actually generate the sort of situation we saw last week with Nick Thyssen and Bjorn Spindel coming out of Eau Rouge, where they were just trapped behind a GT and just lost all of their momentum. Well, we don't have the video, but we do have audio for you. On board with Nick Verstegen, come down a couple gears for Copes. Not very difficult in the Honda, but it's terribly difficult in the Ford GT. On the run down to the left-hander in the Agates at 150 miles an hour, hard on the brakes down to 120, 115 for the right-hander, brake again down to 100 for the left-hander of Beckett's, down to 80 miles an hour for the right-hander, and we now have the opening left-hander full throttle onto the hanger straight. Take your breath, read the newspaper while we run down to Stowe. This is going to be a great place for the prototypes to make their overtakes, as well as Corvettes on the Ford GTs. Now we're at Stowe, hard on the brakes, get down to about 80 miles an hour, hard right-hander, cresting over the top of a hill. Look for the curb on the left, look for the Abbey sign at the top, and into the Vale chicane, all the way down to first gear to 60, 50 miles an hour, into the opening right-hander of Club. It's a double apex right-hander. At exit, you're going to be doing about 120 miles an hour. Onto the Bridgestone sign, looking for the Abbey chicane, brake down to third gear, 70 miles an hour. Don't charge it too hard, you'll kill the second half of the chicane. Now underneath the Silverstone bridge into the bridge quarter, actually. Brake down to 90 miles an hour for Prairie. Just a short squirt, then brake down to 60, 50 miles an hour for Brooklands. And hang on for the slow, really pointless Luffield. More than a 180-degree hairpin at 50 miles an hour. Don't try to get on the gas too soon, or else, well, one end of the car is going to go away, but we don't know which. A flat-out right-hander at Woodcote, and that's a lap at Silverstone in 1:47.299. The drivers are now on their pace lap. Let's get you the starting lineup. Bjorn Spindel on pole in Prototype 2 on a 1:32.864. Philip Ferbert in second with a 1:33.660, 0.8 of a second behind Bjorn. Bjorn has to be happy with that. Tim Mossman's in third on a 34.0. Roderick Kreunen in fourth on a 34.06, just 0.05 behind Mossman's. Nick Thyssen fifth on a 34.205. Gerben Kelly on a 35.164 is sixth in class. Matthias van Rieth, 7th on a 35.2. Dmitry Sivkov is 8th on a 35.388. Alejandro Bernabe, Ruud Mulders, and Derek Schmidt are your other prototype qualifiers.
Alright, well, looking at the GT1s, we got Anders Dahl, winner at Spa, on pole position. David Garcia is going to be starting second at a 1:42.9. Mikael Helen, 1:42.964, followed up by Fabio Loyola and then Dean Allen.
Zlatko Agile Sandfeld, Steve Clays, Neil Heckens, and Stefan Obergar round out your GT1s. Your GT2 pole sitter is Verstegen on a 47.299. Koen Gerards in the iRacing. The Racing Lions Ford GT is second in class on a 47.873, a half a second behind Verstegen. Dennis Garrison in the other lanes for GT is third in class on a 49 knot. Pascal Chauveau is fourth in class on a 49.254. William Avart is fifth. Robert DeRoy is sixth. Randolph Chenouth is seventh. And Chris Zelstra rounds out your qualifiers. Points, very quickly. Bjorn Spindle, after a win at Sebring and a second place at Spa, is your points leader in Prototype 2. Anders Dahl is your points leader in GT1 after 2 wins, and Nick Versteke is your points leader in GT2 after a second or third and a win. The Ford GT FR500S peels off into the pit lane. Bjorn Spindle mashes the gas, and we're green for 2 hours at Silverstone.
Yeah, so far it looks like everybody heading down in the first corner. This is where it's all going to be tricky. The prototypes are nice and spread out. It's complex.
Yeah, they've all gone through very nicely indeed. It's like they know it's an endurance race. No first turn heroes.
Oh, you mean we actually have to vote? We had a car off the track there. The number 14 Corvette went off just briefly, but he's back on without any further incident. Stefan Overgaard.
After his unfortunate incident Spa last week, he'll be looking to recover. Not the way he wanted, just for sure.
I wonder if he was already looking in his mirror for prototypes after what happened the last time.
Good point. News for him, Timo Ivinen hasn't joined us for this race.
Alright, so far it looks like all the cars have made it through without any incidents, nice and spread out here. One of the things that we mentioned beforehand, though, was that unlike at Spa, where we had a number of elevation changes, Silverstone, for the most part, doesn't have or doesn't share in the same kinds of elevation changes. So it's going to be really interesting to watch these cars and these drivers work on the relatively flat terrain.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a little bit of hill, but there's nothing really steep like you have at Eau Rouge. Nothing that you really sort of say, oh, geez, look at the hill. After one lap, Bjorn Spindle is going to be your leader in Prototype 2. Philip Ferbert is second, a second back already. Broderick Kroinen in third, 1.7 seconds back. Nick Thyssen in fourth, 2.5 seconds back. The other driver in that pairing, a fantastic finish at Spa. In Corvette, David Garcia has jumped to the point, just 0.7 of a second ahead of Anders Dahl in the 03 Corvette. Mikael Helen in third, and Fabio Loyola fourth.
Yeah, not really too surprising to see Garcia jump out there on Dahl's, but we're talking about the fuel strategy. Let's see if Anders can play hero yet again.
Yeah, if we have anyone pegged to try that one-stop strategy, it's going to be Anders Dahl. He showed last week at Spa he is Mr. Economy. That's what you're going to need to get that one-stop done. In the Ford GTs, is anybody surprised? It's Nick Versteke in the lead in the 48 Ford GT, Radicals Racing. He has a second over Koen Gerards, and the 02 of Dennis Garrison, who I misidentified as being in a Racing Alliance car. He's actually in the DigitalRacing.nl car. Is third, just a half a second behind Koen Gerards, but a second and a half adrift of your leader.
Yeah, Corvettes, I'm watching the GT car and the GT1 Corvettes. I mean, they're just really spread out back there. Not a lot of challenging going on as they settle in for the long haul over the next 2 hours? Hour 55 minutes ish.
Indeed. Yeah, they have all sort of gotten nicely spread out. All the prototypes are split apart, except for, well, we have Alejandro Bernabe in the 79, their Experience Designs Honda, just 0.3 of a second ahead of Ruud Mulders in the 27 prototype. Oh, and that's the prototype we had off. That's Philip Ferbert, your second place car, and he has retired the car, it seems. That's surprising. Oh, he got off at turn 1. He went off at Cope. grabbed
Yeah,
grabbed onto the AstroTurf corner exit. The car started to rotate right. He corrects, and the car immediately rotates left and smacks the fence, destroys the left front of that car.
Wow, yeah. I was literally just about to mention right before that happened that we have some of that green AstroTurf that we were talking about, where if you get on there, it's going to be really, you're going to be really hard pressed to keep control of the car, and just as I was about to say it, it claims its first victim.
Yeah, that AstroTurf is nasty, nasty stuff. So there goes what we're hoping would be a challenger to Bjorn Spindle. Unfortunately, well, fortunately for Bjorn, unfortunately for those of us who were hoping for a good race at the front of the field, Bjorn had a second and a half over his nearest competitor during free practice, and he outqualified second. Well, if you don't include Furbert in that, he actually outqualified the field by 1.2 seconds, so at this point it looks like it might be Bjorn's to lose already.
Yeah, the one thing Bjorn's going to have to do is just realize that, he does master car this weekend so far, and that, he's not going to need to really push and take any unnecessary risks, and really, just work on this whole points championship, because, he has shown last week that he can, he's not afraid to put it flat out, and he just needs to, I know it's sometimes harder to drive a bit slower than what you're used to, but, no sense in tossing it away.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't outdrive yourself, but don't run too slowly that you lose your rhythm.
And it looks as though he's extended about 3.4 seconds now over Roderick.
Yeah, Kroinen predicted that he maybe wouldn't have the outright pace to win, but he did mention that he thinks Spindle may not have a clean 2 hours in him. So Kroinen will be hoping just to stay in close enough range to make Bjorn think about him just a little bit. And hopefully he'll force that mistake. In GT1, David Sia in the 78 Black Rebels Corvette still leads over Anders Dahl, and it's a second between every Corvette.
Yeah, the Corvettes they're really spread out. I don't know if they're just waiting, or if the difference in the setup is really that much. I mean, I know it's hard to muscle, the Corvettes around tracks like this. You got to be real gentle with the throttle on these flat surfaces. But I mean, it just seems as though they're perfectly content being spread out and letting this race play out before the end. And we also know with this strategy, it's going to require a lot of fuel savings, so it could be that we're seeing these cars just take it easy and try to make it on that one-stop strategy, and then maybe see an all-out dash for the win towards the end of the race if you're still around.
Yeah, I would expect to see this. I mean, it almost looks like they're all going to try one stop. They're all sort of just happy to sort of be there, not really get up on anybody. We expect to see everybody in 40 minutes if they're on a two-stop strategy, but we expect to see these guys go actually for an entire hour on a one-stop.
Yeah, I mean, it's really kind of bizarre watching. I mean, they're just all spread out so far away from each other in perfect second area intervals there. So I mean, I don't know if it's a lot of fuel saving going on in the back or what's going on, but this is going to be interesting.
Moving down to LMG2, Nick Verstegen, 2 seconds over Koen Gerards. That's 48 from 34. Maybe not quite as much of a lead as we thought he'd have, but he's still pulling away. 2 seconds back to Dennis Garrison in the DigitalRacing.nl 024 GT.
Yeah, it looks like Nick's he's not quite jumped out to the lead that I expected. Maybe not as fast here at Silverstone as he was at Spa, but I mean, he's got 2 second lead there. Still a lot of time left to see what happens, but yeah, I mean, he seems to just be comfortable managing 2 seconds.
Well, the other thing they say, you only go as fast as you need to win the race. So if he's just trying to maintain that gap at 2 seconds, well, he's doing a perfect job of it. We have Dietrich Kynes in the 7.4 GT already a lap down and off of the track, but he took the start of the race. I'm not sure what happened to him. I'm going to try to find out.
He's actually come off and said steering wheel is malfunctioning and that he has to tow. So I don't know if that means it's a hardware incident or if it was actually an incident and he's bent the steering. but it may actually be a hardware problem for Diedrich.
Well spotted. We may not have random mechanical failures here. Well, as we would. Well, of course, nothing is truly random. But in the real racing world, you get retirements from parts failing. Well, the parts on the cars won't fail without being unduly abused, but the hardware to control them often can fail, with the slightest provocation or even without provocation.
Yeah, I've had my fair share of the of the steering wheel coming unplugged or undone, and it looks like we have a Corvette off in the back there. Hang on a second. I thought I seen a Corvette off in the grass there. I can't pan back to it. I can't get a car number to get it set, but it looks like we did have a grass.
Oh, we'll keep our eyes see if anybody radically changes position this lap. So far it seems like everybody's holder for their position on the lap. So then maybe just a trip across the grass, but nothing more serious than that.
Yeah, it doesn't appear to be, so I'm not 100% sure, but I could have sworn I seen it off in the background there. I was watching through the cameras there, but
yeah, so it looks like the LMP1, I've done it again. The LMP2 leaders have already into the Ford GT traffic. We just see Chris Zylstra in the 15 Candy Car Ford GT being lapped. The sponsor on that car will drop, which I'm told by some of our friends sort of translates to the candy car.
Interesting.
And there you see in the graphic, we have a new addition for this broadcast. We have, for each of our cars that are in the top 10 in points in their class, you'll see an image of the car and the driver plates. So if you see a mess of cars on the screen while we're looking at them, you'll be able to identify very easily which one we're actually talking about.
I don't envy these Ford GT drivers whatsoever at this track. I mean, it's absolute. That car was hard enough, Spa. I wouldn't imagine trying to drive that thing around. And it's probably best that Ford didn't give us the car.
Yeah, I think that would have been worse had they. Well, we set the Corvettes a second apart and seemed content to hold that gap. Well, Anders Dahl got impatient. Anders Dahl in the 03 iRacing Denmark car has now closed in to within a half a second of your GT1 leaders, David Garcia. And it looks like he might be trying to race out of it, which is surprising, not because it's Anders Dahl. Well, it is surprising because it's Anders Dahl. It's not surprising because he doesn't have the pace. He does. It's surprising because we thought if there was anybody that was going to try to stretch it to a one-stop race, we thought it would be Anders.
For sure, you thought it would be him. He is the hero. He's proven that he is not fuel mileage afraid.
Yeah, looking back, we also have a good dice going between Alejandro Bernabe in the 79 Derek Spears Designs prototype and Ruud Mulders in this 27 prototype. This is a new ride for Ruud Mulders this week. For the past 2 weeks he's been in a Corvette, but it sounds like maybe not quite happy with the Corvette. He's switched over to the prototype and looks to be finding some success. He's certainly having a good battle at the moment.
Yeah, it's always, you know, sometimes it just doesn't work out for you. You gotta go to the LMPs and try just a different change in scenery, and it looks like he's really, you know, he's having a good fight here.
Yeah, of course, as soon as I say that, he falls back from traffic. And there was a prototype off in the grass. That's Gerben Kelly. I believe that's his first race with us, but he's going to spin out of 5th place in the 4 car. I believe that's the Benelux-sponsored car. Just to spin at Chapel. Easy enough to do if you get on the gas too hard coming out of Beckett's. The car just sort of starts this pathetic oversteer to the right.
Yeah, that's just a real tricky area. Again, you've got to be, throttle management is just as key here as it was at Spa, obviously, being flat out and everything. Get on the gas too hard and you're going to go.
Yeah, so Gerben is going to, barring any other problems for prototypes this lap, he's going to fall from 5th all the way back down to 10th, last in class. But he should have the pace to start picking his way back up the field. A little bit, at least. It would appear normality, has been restored to the GT1s. Now about a second between each car until you get way back to 8th in class. Neil Hecken's 6 seconds behind his GT1 compatriot Egil Sandfeld. All of the 4 GTs are now 1 lap down to the overall leader, which means I lose my ability to see how much time is between each of them. But we do have a very good race going between the 09 of Robert DeRoy in the Racing Lions 4 GT and William of Art in his sort of brushed metal, brushed steel clown face 11 4 GT. Really not sure what the sponsorship is on that 11. I just know there's a clown face on the side of it.
Nice.
Hope you're not afraid of him.
Alright, so we've got, looks like we got LMPs coming through the Corvettes here.
Yeah, even through the traffic, Bjorn Spindle is maintaining a 4-second lead over Roderick Kroinen. That's 89 iRacing Denmark from 05 Radicals. Tim Mossman's in the 84, holding serve in 3rd. 9 seconds behind the leader. We expected him to be a little bit closer, actually, after qualifying. Nick Tisson 4th in Prototype 2, 14 seconds behind the leader.
Bit of a moment there for Spindle in traffic. It looked like he was going to go and pass the number 23 Corvette, and 23 Corvette went out to the rumble strips, and looked like Bjorn was going to go off there for a second, but he was able to get around without much incident.
Oh, spin! Spin for the 79 of Alejandro Bernabe. That's a spin exactly where we saw Gerben Kelly have his issues 2 laps ago, but it's gone much worse for Alejandro Bernabe. He's just backed it into the fence, coming onto the hangar straight.
Yeah, it certainly looks like he's still in the grass. The car comes to a rest. It looks like he's going to be done.
Unfortunate. He had a good drive going in the mid-pack. Part of a good dice between Dmitry Sivkov and Ruud Molders. That's not how he'll have wanted his race to end. And coming up on the spin now, he's going to do the same thing. No, very different thing. He's going to come out, catch the grass. And again, 10 seconds, because I'm watching the replay on the broadcast. And just slams the styrofoam barrier with the right-hand side of the car. That'll throw your steering all to junk.
To Hades. Were you looking for Hades there?
Yes, that's what I was going. And we see the 02 coming out of the pit lane. The 02, Dennis Garrison, coming out of the pit lane. I'm not sure why he was in the pits already. I'm going to look for that, and I'll get back to you.
Yeah, it could be interesting. Might be. Don't really see much damage on his car. Maybe just trying to freshen up the strategy. I don't know.
It's far too early for an early. Far too early for an early stop, even. We're just 15 minutes or so into this race. 20 minutes into this race.
Maybe at least just trying to get out of sequence. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, it's far too early.
Oh no, he was hit. Pascal Chauveau in the 00 just spun, just got in too hot on the brakes at the Abbey chicane, backed right into the side of the 02 from Dennis Garrison, and they both went spinning into the gravel at Abbey chicane. So that's 02 into the pits early with damage, presumably, and the 00 of Pascal Chauveau.
Yeah, Pascal looks like he's going to stay on track, no issues.
Yeah, he backed straight into Garrison, so presumably he won't have too much damage. Fortunate for Pascal, not so fortunate for Dennis, and Dennis will be, well, he might be a bit miffed that Pascal got away from that one so unscathed. But Pascal is... Nope, I was watching a replay. Pascal looks to be up to speed now, so no lasting dramas for him, but Dennis Garrison will have some lasting dramas from that.
There he goes. You can see watching on the split screen replay there, the 4 GTs going back about their business. There's the spin and the contact. Shouldn't be much damage to either car, I wouldn't think, as it was both kind of in the back. But it looks like he just got on the brakes a little bit too hard there, and then went all the way around and into the GT.
So while we've been looking at that, I'm trying to see if anything else has happened. Alejandro Bernabe has not rejoined. Looks like he might have rejoined. Yep, Alejandro Bernabe has actually retired that car, so that's an early end to that. Philip Ferbert, we covered that one there. Looks like nothing else, no other incidents on track while we were covering that. Nick Verstappen still leads from Koen Gerards in GT2. Again, that's from 34. We'll have those numbers memorized at the end of the race, I think. But it's rather closer now, actually very close indeed. Only about a second between those two cars now. So, traffic, maybe a mistake from Nick Verstappen. Or Koen Gerards just found the pace.
Now, another interesting thing is you look up in the LMPs, and that's Roderick keeping the gap to Bjorn Spindle down to 2.4 seconds. So Bjorn's not walking away with it by any stretch of the imagination at the head of the field here.
I wonder how much he's keeping it. I wonder if he's full speed right now, or if he's just maintaining the gap. Because with the pace that he has, there's no reason for him to take chances. And he probably got a bit of a scare with the 23 of Zlatko Bralic.
Now, one of the things I would think is if you're looking at trying to maintain the gap, obviously, over your competitor, 2.4 seconds is a little bit, is a little close, because a mistake is going to cost you the lead. From Bjorn, I'm at least wanting to try to get the gap out to 5 seconds before I start managing. And now Roderick's got it down to 1.6 seconds. Now, obviously, the traffic that you've seen there on screen had a little bit something to do with it, but yeah, I mean, the gap is slowly starting to fall, and if Bjorn is trying to hold back, this is not the time, and this is not the gap to hold. Absolutely.
While we have that gap shrinking, we have an absolute fantastic battle for, well, last in the prototypes, or running last at least, between the 08 of Derek Schmidt in the Reddit racing car and between the 4 of Gerben Kelly, who we saw that had that spin earlier in Apple. We think Gerben is quite a bit quicker than Derek, but he hasn't managed to make the move yet. And there goes Gerben into brackets, I believe, for the position. Derek Schmidt, Magmit's letting him have it.
Yeah, discretion, the part of valor through that part of the track. You don't want to do anything that's, give up the position, live to fight again. You don't want to push the issue and have both cars go off and have damage. That's never good.
Absolutely. Like Bjorn Spindle's going to be advantaged this lap through traffic. I expect to see that gap rise rather back up quickly. Indeed,
Yeah,
back up
well,
to 2 seconds over Roderick Kroinen.
Cronin discounted chances early on, like you talked about when we were talking to him pre-race, but he's certainly right there. I mean, traffic and all. I mean, he's still hanging in there, and all it takes is for one of these, get on the throttle a bit too heavy in one of these corners, and that's going to be the end of that.
Battle for third in Prototype 2 between 84 Tim Mossmans and 91 Nick Tisson. In fact, that looks like we might have we've got some weaving and blocking and defending, and then Tisson is going to try to make the out move going into Stowe. Will they make it work? No. Will they be able to cut back under? No. That's not going well for Tisson, actually. Not what he was hoping to do.
Yeah, definitely some aggressive driving there. Aggressive indeed, trying to get around. Oh no, there goes the car. Wow.
Oh, that's almost a spin for Tisson.
Yeah, Tisson there. I mean, wow. I mean, he's Tokyo Drift style around the corner there, and definitely not what he's looking to do.
That might be
to make pass.
That's not quick here.
No. He'll have to certainly recover and regroup from that instance. But as we look at the top 5 here in the LMP, we have Bjorn Spindle still leading by 3.7 over Roderick Kroenen, and third place Tim Mossmans, fourth Nick Tisson, and is Matthias van Rieth.
Corvette, David Garcia has led every lap of the race so far. He leads from the Anders Dahl. Mikael Helen in the second of the Black Rebels cars is third in class. I said Anders was second overall. He's second in class. Fabio Loyola in the 20 is fourth in class. Dean Allen, who we don't speak about too much, fifth in class. So good run for him. Nick Verstegen has the GT2 lead and has led every lap so far. Sort of a theme here. Koen Gerards is second, Robert DeRoy third, William Avart is fourth, and Chris Zylstra rounds up your top 5. Oh, wow, we missed this. The Pascal Chauveau has retired his car after the contact with the 02 of Dennis Garrison. Garrison's still on track, though, so he'll be looking to make up that position. Looks like the battles around the track have lifted for just a moment at least. The Corvettes are spread out, the Fords are spread out, and the Hondas are spread out. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. And welcome back to Silverstone Circuit. We've just seen a pass for 8th overall, excuse me, 7th overall. Gavin Kelly going through Ruud Molders. That's 4 going through 27.
Yeah, I don't think. Oh, it looks like he's going to come back on the inside there and retake. So the GT car traffic, he's using it to his advantage there as a moving pick.
Absolutely. Well driven by Ruud Molders. You have to think that comes from actually driving the Corvette for 2 races. You know, knows exactly what that Corvette's going to do.
Yeah, it's always good to have that know-how in there, and you know, really helps you scale, I guess, your move.
Yeah, sort of an unfair advantage, you might say. Well, we were good. We do have some bills to pay around here besides just the commercials. The VRC Mark II virtual racing seat, simulation racing cockpit designed by championship race car driver Bob Earl, who understands what it means to have a comfortable racing seat. The design features a fully adjustable racing seat and frame, an additional monitor stand, and shifter mount sold separately. It's only $349 plus shipping, and you can see it at DigitalRacing.nl as we see Gerben Kell looking up the inside at Stowe of Ruud Molders, not able to make it happen. And we're going to see another look into Vale, but again, he'll discretion the better part of valor.
Yeah, he's got a lot of GT Corvettes there that he's able to use as these, and even some GTs there that he's going to be able to use, but it looks like it's going to work against him there. Oh, and they're going to split him.
He was thinking about it, but he decided, discretion, definitely the valor there. They are making those Corvettes nervous. Yeah, that race seat, only over 300 or 3,000 of them sold, did you know? We endorse its design. It's inexpensive, and it's high quality, and it's an affordable alternative to others that cost thousands. You can get yours today at bobburling.com.
Yeah, it's always good to have a good race for these sims to get the full effect. I mean, I've done lots of racing in the seats with like motion and everything to make it as real as possible, and it gives you a whole new appreciation for you know, any kind of racing seat will give you any kind of, you know, appreciation for this sim racing.
Yeah, absolutely. As we see this battle going, not going through the GT1. Well, it's second place actually in GT1. So now that's going to be Ruud Molders stuck behind David Garcia, the GT1 leader, and Gerben Kelly stuck behind Anders Dahl, the GT1 second place runner.
Yeah, that Anders Dahl put himself squarely in front of that HPD.
When you drive the Corvette, sometimes you have to be assertive about which line you're going to take. You know, let the prototype behind you know what your plan is, and sort of say, no, I'm not comfortable being on the outside here. I'll take the inside, and you can do whatever you want around that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that there's no way, never at any time in the Corvette am I going to be comfortable being on the outside at this racetrack, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So Dirk Schmidt was in this fight in the 08 Reddit Racing Honda while they were in traffic, but it looks like after they've gotten out of traffic, he's fallen off a bit. So traffic helped him there for a bit, but not enough. Yeah,
it looks like he really took, you know, these two cars that we've been watching, they really took the fight through the GT cars, and it looks like Derek just got the worst end of it and wasn't able to make him get around quite as quick as Ruud or Gerben.
Yeah. Still a good dice going for the GT1 lead, as we just saw on screen while we were going through, between the 78 Black Rebels car of David Garcia and the 03 Corvette of Anders Dahl. Not as close as they have been, but close enough.
Yeah.
As we see the 08 Reddit Racing car of Derek Schmidt going through that battle. Nick Verstappen in the 48 Radical 4 GT still leads in the second and a half for 2 seconds. We'll call it 3 second. 3 second lead over Koen Gerards in the Racing Lions 4 GT.
Yeah, Kuhn doing very, you know, running with Neek the whole time. So I mean, he's not let him get too far. You know, Neek's managing a nice timed gap there, but you know, again, it's one of those gaps where if Neek even goes off or gets on the brakes the wrong way or pushes wide, you know, Kuhn's going to be right there to answer the call.
Yep, as we see ahead of him, Gerben Kelly's still trying to go through rude boulders and just not having any luck. That Ford prototype is faster than the 27, but he just can't find a way around.
Yeah, and right as we say that, right as we're kind of bouncing around the field here, we've got a gap that's certainly closed in GT2, as it looks like Kuhn's right is really charging on Neek. It looked like the gap came down. Maybe Neek had like we said, maybe a little incident or a moment there where the car was unsettled, but the gap certainly a little bit there.
Anders Dahl into the pit lane. 03 Anders Dahl, second place in GT1, into the pit lane.
Well, that pretty much...
After just 5 minutes. He'll be able to do that on 2 stops, but we know that he's not going for 1 stop.
No, looks like he's not gonna gamble after all.
Absolutely. I believe that'll be our first pit stop of the day, which our first scheduled pit stop of the day, I should say. That goes back a bit to Spa, but this won't be as close this race for Anders. He should be able to make it to the end comfortably, even stopping 5 minutes early. Going back to this battle between Ruud Molders and Gerben Kelly, I have to think at this point Gerben's just hoping he's heavier on fuel than Ruud is. You know, so he'll get Ruud into the pit lane, get a chance to put down 1 or 2 or 3 really good laps, and just come out of the pit lane ahead. Yeah,
for sure. That would definitely be the best hope. But if we could look back to the GT2 with this battle is getting very intense as these cars are right nose to tail.
Right, you are.
Yeah, it's number 48 of Nick Verstega and number 34 of Kuhn Gerards are right there, and here comes Bjorn Spindle through the mix. But this is a battle for the GT2 lead.
Yeah, battle for the GT2 lead while your overall leader threads his way through the 2. We should mention, we haven't Bjorn for a while. He's still got a 3-second lead over Reuter de Kroin.
David Garcia's in the mix. So you've got the LMP leader, the GT1 leader, and then a fight for the G2 leader position.
Someone take the picture. You don't get all 3 of your leaders this day. There comes Reuter Kroinen around side of both your prototype, or both your GT1 and GT2 leaders. And David Garcia, your G1 leader, in the 78 Black Rebels car, will be hoping to sneak through with, and he's going to make it 3 wide. Oh, that was a bit naughty, David. 3 wide between the prototype and the Ford GT. That was a bit naughty.
Yeah, a little bit early to be taking a gamble like that, but again, at the heat of the moment, you know, a lot of cars around you, you're not always gonna make rational decisions, let's just say. But yeah, it was definitely a very close moment there for David Garcia.
Yeah, that had the potential to. That could have been for our race today. That would have taken out second place in the prototypes and our 2 GT leaders.
And just by the looks of the way these 2, Nick and Kuhn, are going at each other, it looks to me, and I may be wrong, but it looks to me that Kuhn's got the faster car.
I don't disagree with that. I think Nick Verstappen has the faster car at the start of the run, but Kuhn Gerard's. But I think Kuhn Gerard's car is maybe more sympathetic with the tires. So we'll have to see. I think Nick Verstappen has the right idea with his setup. The 34 of Kuhn Gerard's is just maybe taking too long to really come into it. And we actually saw a big wheel for him coming off of Luffield, you know, we warned about earlier. And that's going to break that battle up a bit.
Yeah, it looks like Diedrich Kynes is pulled into the pits and is actually out of the car, it looks.
Diedrich was having those wheel issues earlier, so you have to think he came out thinking he had those issues solved and got out and determined he didn't. While we were looking at that battle for the GT2 lead, looks like Gerben Kelly in the 4 has finally managed to get around Ruud Boulders in the 27. So he'll be thankful for that, not having to rely on pit stops to go through.
As we look up at the front here, it looks like Bjorn Spindle 5.5 over Roderick. So,
and just starting to put the prototypes laps down. Derek Schmidt,
yeah.
the last currently running prototype. Of course, we've had Alejandro Bernabe and Philip Ferbert already retire their cars. Derek Schmidt, that's the first prototype to go 1 lap down in the 08 Reddit racing car. Well, we should start to see pit stops in earnest, but we see the GT1 leader, David Garcia, go by for another lap. But we do have 1 hour and 20 minutes remaining on the race. We are at the mark for first pit stops, if you're going for a 2-stop race, that is.
Yeah, the race is young, but it's not. It's not quite like Spa, where we had so much more time, it seemed. All right, so we've got the number 20 Chevrolet Fabio Leola into the pits.
That's 6th in class, so just as we called, here he comes into the pit lane.
Yeah, now is the wind, so if you're going to come in and get service, go ahead and do it now. No sense,
yeah,
maybe do the safe and steady 2-stop and see if anybody tries to take the gamble. We got another Corvette in right behind him.
That is the 41 of Neil Heckens.
Yeah, there it is. So yeah, it looks like now is the time for the GT cars to come in and get the GT1s rather, to come in and get their service for the nice conservative strategy for 2 stops there. As things kind of... Oh, go ahead.
I haven't seen any of the prototypes make it look like they want to come to the pit lane. We thought that they would only make it up, that they would have to go for 2 stops, but maybe they found something. Let them all go on 1.
Yeah. It looks like maybe the fuel's lasting. I don't know about the tires. Obviously, are doing all right because Bjorn is managing. He's put the gap to 6 seconds now. So it will be interesting to see, because they've got another 12, 13 minutes, and then we could be talking about just 1 stop.
Absolutely. David Garcia, your GT1 leader, again passed the pit lane, so he's not thinking about pitting. Same for Mikhail Helen, the other Black Rebels Corvette. So the Black Rebels racing 1-2 in GT1. That's 78 from 58. Dean Allen in the 33 British flag festooned car is 3rd in GT1 right now, having not made his pit stop. Egil Sandfeld in 4th. Is 4th in class, again not having made his pit stop.
As GT cars continue to come in, Slatko Bralik is in the pits. And also note the gap, going back to GT2, the gap between Nick Verstappen, sorry about that, I messed up the name, but Nick Verstappen and Koen Geratz has widened up a bit there.
Yeah, not sure if Koen Geratz just had a sort of happy zone where his tires were hooked up and they fall back off, or if Nick Verstappen lost his rhythm in traffic and has now refound it. So the gap, 48 from 34 in GT2, widened back up significantly at this point. Upwards of 5 seconds, we think.
Yeah, I apologize for the butchering there. Right as I was going to say the names, I had some race traffic or some radio chatter come on and throw off my thought train there, so my apologies to Nick for destroying his name.
So that's David Garcia again past the pit lane. So David Garcia looking like he's either filled this thing up and seeing where it'll take him, or he's committed to a one-stop strategy. Nick Verstegen hasn't troubled the pit lane either, and we heard from the GT2s, well, from Nick specifically, there was no way the Ford GTs could do this on one stop. I'm wondering if he was giving us the straight and narrow answer, or if he was telling us a bit of a fib.
I don't know. He said about 10 minutes. You're not gonna want to try to do anything crazy. I mean, there's still 10 minutes of the window there, so we'll have to see what happens.
Our first prototype is into the pit lane. Our first and second prototypes are into the pit lane. Not first and second in class, but just in order of pitting. Garvin Kelly, who was on the a bit of a recovery drive after the early spin, is into the pit lane in the 4. 27, Rude Molders, who had that fantastic battle for about 5 or 6 laps with Garvin, into the pit lane right behind him. So that's 4 and 27, 7th and 8th in class in the pit lane. But the rest of you prototype runners still not bothering to look at the pit lane. Same for your GT2 runners, except for the folks we've had with damage from incidents. No GT2s have made their pit stops yet. There's the message from Diedrich Kynes. Diedrich Kynes. First he had steering wheel issues, then frame rate issues, so it looks like a catastrophic failure of hardware for Diedrich then, and he won't be taking further part in this event.
Yeah, it seems like everything just decided to shut down at once. Never good.
Yeah, but what can you do when you have that happen? Bow out gracefully as he has. Good on him for not trying to keep it on the track. 86 of Edgel Sand, 4th in class. Well, 4th in class pit stops, really, is now into the pit lane, with 7 minutes elapsed in this race. David Garcia and Mikhail Helen, your 2 leaders in GT1, still not troubling pit road at all. Bjorn Spindel, your overall leader, now 8 seconds ahead of Reuter de Kreunen in the 05. And still, nobody, I mean, apart from the GT1s, nobody troubling the pit lane. So the class that we thought might be able to make it on one stop has really been diving in hordes to the pits. And the classes that we thought had no prayer to one stop, well, we haven't seen them out of the pit lane yet.
Yeah, still got about 8 minutes to really think about it. If they can make it another 8 minutes, which is, you know, if they can do another 8 minutes, they're going to be looking pretty good.
You're going to need about 12 more minutes, actually. But there's your first stop with the Fords, Chris Zylstra in the 15 in the what we referred to as the candy car, the auto drop Ford GT, in and out of the pit lane. And watching Bjorn Spindel just to see if he pits this lap. I have to think pit stops for everybody are close, but he stays out again.
With a little bobble.
Yeah, just a bit of a bob coming out of left field. I mean, for left field, that's normal. I am surprised, to say the least, at the pit stops so far, or the lack thereof.
Yeah, I'm really surprised.
We said at the end of Spa that they really shouldn't let us do fuel strategy and calculations after Anders' miracle drive.
Well, I mean, I don't, public math, fuel strategy, not my strong suit, so I'll just sit here and watch and keep talking.
The 6th prototype, Dmitry Sivkov, number 75, in and out of the pit lane. So I believe that leaves our top 5 plus Derek Schmidt, who've not stopped yet for the prototypes. Just the top 3 for the Corvettes haven't pit at this point. The Black Rebels, 78, David Garcia, and 58, and the British Corvette of Dean Allen, 33, have not stopped. Everybody else in the Corvettes have stopped. Nick Verstegen well, actually, really the only Ford GT we've seen stop has been Chris Zylstra. The rest of the top 5, indeed, yes, the top 5 of the Ford GTs have not stopped.
Oh, there goes Bjorn into the pits. Overall leader has went in number 89. Bjorn Spindle makes his first and maybe only stop of the race.
No, he's got too much. He's got too much time to do. He needs another. He needed another 10 minutes on this stint to do it on one stop. So Roderick Croydon will go through, and will he take the lead? No, not quite.
Yeah, actually, that's my fault. I used the wrong timer. Darn UI Racing.
Tim Mossman's third in prototype into the pit lane, 84. Nick Tisson right behind him, 91. So first, third, and fourth in prototype into the pit lane. The next driver to stop or not stop will be Matthias van Rieth, but that'll be another 20 or 30 seconds away. David Garcia right in front of him, the GT1 leader, waiting to see if he makes a stop this lap. Reminder, just the top 3 in Corvette have not stopped yet. David Garcia, Michael Helen, and Dean Allen. Nick Verstegen is still on track, hasn't stopped, along with the top 4 now in the Ford GTs. Ooh, William Avart has retired. I'll make a note of that, and we'll come back to it after we finish with the pit stops, but William Avart looked to be running strong, and we're not sure why he would have retired that car. Matthias van Rieth, 83, has not stopped. David Garcia, 78, still out on the track, still has not stopped. He looks like, at this point, he has to be committed to a one-stop strategy. Michael Helen, similarly, his teammate out on the track, hasn't stopped. Dean Allen as well. So I think the top 3 in Corvette are going for a one-stop strategy. And your new overall leader, Roderick Croydon, onto the pit lane. He didn't stop last lap. He's in this lap. So that's going to be all your Prototype 2 cars looking for a 2-stop race. So Croydon led this lap, but we'll see Spindle come back through to take the lead. Your GT2 leader, Nick Verstegen, onto the pit lane. Koen Gerards must have already pitted, actually. Yes, Koen Gerards has already been in and out of the pits in second in Ford GT. Robert DeBroy, this year, in and out of the pits. Nick Verstegen, 48, just now coming out of the pit lane. He will retain the lead comfortably. And similarly, Bjorn Zell has retaken the overall and Prototype 2 lead from Roderick Croydon. So, now that we've got that out of the way, that puts, let's see where that's going to put Anders Dahl. Dean Allen still has not stopped, actually. So Dean Allen might actually...
So it looks like we've had a GT actually go off that we missed. William Vart, number 11 Ford GT, had a moment. Just kind of lost the back end of the car and put it into the wall. That did occur on lap 26, so we did miss that. Apologies, but yeah, he just looks like he just lost it, went into the grass, and had massive impact into the rear of the car, and that is day done.
Yep, so we have... Oh, it looks like that AstroTurf... Yep, the AstroTurf claimed another victim. It Copes just ran wide. Ooh, barely missed Nick Tisson. And hard into the right-hand side Armco. And yeah, that'll end his day. So the clown car, I don't think he'll find that too funny, sadly.
Well, Wow, looks like Bjorn Spindel is really ratcheting up a notch after pit stops and everything. He is now 8.5 seconds, Roderick, so really managing the gap very well there.
Yeah, so it's still, look, Garcia, Helen has been in and out of the lane. Helen in and out of the pit lane in the 58, just 6 minutes short of the halfway mark. I don't think he's going to be able to do one stop with that. Getting word that the 86 has also had a bit of a rotation moment. I'm not able to find it, though.
As you're riding on board there with Nick Tisson, as he very... should be the replay, and there it goes. Yeah, real close there. Wow, talk about close call for Nick Tisson there, as he was almost collected in that accident.
Yeah, Sandfeld looks like going back to find it. Just buzzed the tires at exit of Club, that right-handed double apex after the Vale chicane. Spun the car to the inside, got it going again, and spun again with just what had to be blisteringly hot tire. Looking back at David Garcia, who still has not pitted. Garcia and Dean Allen must be on a one-stop race.
Alright, so your GT1 leader David Garcia is into the pits now at 55 minutes complete here. So that could be a bit interesting. He's going to have to save a little bit.
But just a little bit. Garcia and Allen both, I think, are in range of a one-stop strategy, especially if they're a little bit light with the right foot. We also see Derek Schmidt in the Reddit racing car into the pit lane. So he might be on a one-stop strategy as well, in which case that would vault him from 9th in class to 5th in class, potentially.
Ooh, there, watching David Garcia as he comes out of the pits, 78 GT1 leader, and he's got 3 prototypes that got caught up in that first complex, and man, they had all 3 had a bit of a moment there. Oh wow, yeah. Yeah, good pass there.
So after GT1 pit stops, it's right back as it was before they started, about a half an hour ago. Anders Dahl in the 03 is right on the bumper of 78 David Garcia. And looks to be challenging for the lead. Anders has to go through David Garcia. Anders on a 2-stop strategy. We think Garcia might be able to do it on 1. And if that's the case, Anders needs to get as fast as he can, something on the order of 50 seconds or so. I think right now David and Dean are on the winning strategy.
Well, this is where it's really going to be interesting, because you're going to have Anders really putting pressure on David Garcia to get around him and then try to get as far ahead of him as possibly can to open up that time. But Garcia, if he's going to stay ahead, you know, he's looking at potentially using more fuel, and then, you know, maybe making it a bit dangerous when it comes time to the end of the race, when he's grasping for the last couple drops of gas.
Yeah, it'll be just fumes at the end.
So if you're Anders Dahl, it's almost worth it just to sit there and continue to push as hard as you can on him. and make him go a little bit faster, and try to make him use that fuel so that, you know, hopefully at the end of the race he runs out and you can claim your two-stop strategy is the best.
Yeah. After pit stops, Bjorn Spindle in 89 leads overall from Roderick Kroinen in the 05 by 8.5 seconds, so that's actually pretty much unchanged for the stops. Tim Mossman's in third, 23 seconds adrift of the leader. Nick Tissen in fourth, 35.5 seconds adrift. Matthias Van Rieth in fifth in P2, a minute and a half behind, and that's your lead lap runners for the prototypes. David Garcia leads GT1, so 78 from 03, and Anders Dahl, after being right up the tailpipes of David Garcia, has fallen back quite a bit to the tune of 2 or 3 seconds. Fabio Loyola in the 20 is third. Dean Allen is fourth, although we don't think Dean has to still improve. And Mikkel Helen is fifth, so he's lost a couple of spots during the pit stops. Nick Verstegen still leads GT2 by a dominating amount. Well, we were wondering earlier about Verstegen's lead. Well, he's got it now. He leads by the entire hangar straight, really, over Koen Gerards, who's second in GT2. Robert DeRoy is third in the 09 Racing Lions Ford GT. Chris Zailstra fourth, and Randolph Knauth, your GoPro driver, in fifth. Yep, so we've got our eyes on the 09 of Robert DeRoy right now, running the second of the 2 Racing Lions cars. I believe that is the 09 at least. Let's see, does it have the orange flashes on the mirrors? No, that is the 34 of Koen Gerards. It's got the black flashes and mirrors. As we see, ooh, that was a spinning Corvette. Who was that? That was your leader, David Garcia. David Garcia just spun coming out of Club. Again, just buzzed the rear tires, and that will promote Anders Dahl to the lead. Now, how much time will David Garcia lose getting this car righted?
Yeah, you gotta be careful. There it is. I mean, you gotta. Club is very, very slippery. You really gotta be careful getting on the throttle through Club. It's very easy to do what David has just done there, and it's going to be real interesting to see now this strategy play out. You know, is he gonna, because he's gonna have to kind of push a little bit. He doesn't want Anders to get too far ahead here, so he's going to be using fuel to try to catch up to Anders, but he's still got, you know, potentially the one strategy working for him. So this battle between Anders and David, if it continues like this, may shape up to be quite interesting by the time we're done here.
Yeah, now the thing for David to be careful of, those rear tires are not going to be blazing hot, and to keep that red mist under control. You've made one mistake, limit the damage and don't make another.
Yes, you need to just take it easy, you know, let the car kind of regroup itself a little bit before you start to make the charge, because you don't want to get, you know, you don't want to get angry and start pushing like crazy, because you're just going to make matters far worse for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So that will have made Anders Dahl very happy indeed. So now that we've had that bit of excitement, we have all of our pit stops, at least the first round of pit stops for most of our runners, and the only pit stop we suspect for David Garcia and Dean Allen. We'll take a quick commercial break here. We'll be right back.
rock and roll, if that's cool, then you need to do it over at HD Radio Network. HD Radio Network, 4 stations broadcasting 24/7 with everything from metal favorites to the 80s classic rock like legendary Leonard Skinner, Electric Light Orchestra, Foreigner, and bone-rattling, skull-crushing rock and roll on hard driving radio. And partnered with Nuff World Simulation Gaming, check out the HD Radio Network's Nuff Radio with Bear Factory, Stone Temple Pilots, Def Leppard, and a whole lot more. HDRadionetwork.com. Take your pick and rock your brains out, dude.
And welcome back to Silverstone Circuit for the 2 hours of Silverstone with the ESCORS European Le Mans Series. Thanks to our presenting sponsors, DigitalRacing.nl and Derek Spears Design. DigitalRacing.nl, if you're Dutch, you want to do some online racing, that's where you go. Absolutely fantastic group of guys. And Derek Spears Designs, what can we say? Some button boxes available for any sim racer, really. iRacing, R-Factor, ArcaSim Racing, or heaven forbid you're still running NASCAR 2003 season. You are, of course, watching on ETVLive, etv-eplay.net. Don't forget our 24/7 channel for auto racing.
Well, while we were away at commercial, actually, we had a situation involving the GT2 leader where he almost got taken out by one of the HPDs.
And which HPD was that?
That was it was on the start-finish line there. We had on the transition between lap 35 and 36, and it was actually Jebin Kelly, who was trying to get around Neek and actually pulled right in front of him, and Neek had to get onto the binders pretty quick there, and he had some rather pointed words towards Jebin after.
That was a hell of a chop.
Yeah, that was in fact a nasty chop there, and he had some rather pointed words on the voice chat between the drivers there for Jebin, as he was, obviously not happy about that particular tactic.
No, that would have made the GT2 race interesting, but we don't want it to be interesting like that. We'd rather see it interesting purely on race.
Yeah, you never want to see a variable like that take somebody out when it's not even the right class. I mean, if it's guys driving in the same class and have a collision, you hate to see it, but that's racing. But when you've got a car that's so vastly
and you're about to
superior,
see it on the replay here. And wowza, that's just nasty. Use your spotter, Jebin. I don't think you could have fit a piece of paper between those two cars as we saw it. And don't forget to factor in the lag present in online racing. That was close at best and careless at worst.
Yeah, I would have had some choice words as well, and been pinging probably the race director, honestly, for something like that, for maybe a warning. That's absolutely not what you want to do, especially when you're prototype. He's running 6th. Jebin is in the LMP category. You don't want to get in front and ruin the leader of the GT2 race, just because you've got the faster car. Etiquette still applies. Like they always say about multi-class racing, you have to know how to pass cars, and cars have to and you have to know how to be passed. And that's a point case of Jebin needing to know how to, to really just learn how to pass without putting other cars, and especially race leaders, in unnecessary peril.
It is one of the mindsets of road racing that's hard to shake when you get into mixed class racing, isn't it? Those GTs aren't lapped cars. They could be the leader in their own class. They're slower than you, sure, but you have to give them every bit of respect you would give one of your fellow prototypes. And we see a lot of guys that come in from single-seater racing or other specs of single-class racing take at least a few races to really get that, to really understand what that actually means. That they aren't, yes, they're lapped down to you, but they're still the leader.
So yeah, I guess that's always something that we'll be obviously battling through the multi-class category, and I'm sure that people watching have been on the iRacing forums.
78 had cons with the '08 Reddit racing car of Derek Schmidt, So that was second in GT2, or at least was second. He's down the order now, 28 of David Garcia, the Black Rebels car. Contact with the zero at Copes. That spun him through the gravel and backed him straight into the fence. That is not a good outcome for who was our GT1 leader before pit stops and looked to be on path for a win. So that's 2 races now that we're going to see taken from David Garcia.
Yeah,
2 weeks ago at Spa, he had the connection issues that caused him to retire. This week, it'll be contact with the last running prototype. So we were just saying about minding your P's and Q's with lap to traffic. And we'll just have to have another look here. Was Derek over-optimistic, or did David just close the door?
Regardless, David at the moment having a handful of that car, trying to keep it on the racetrack, and he went off into that AstroTurf area right in front of our overall leader, Bjorn Spindles. So able to get it back under control, as David is quite a good driver, but a bit of a moment with that damage.
Yeah, that car will be handling whatever the opposite of as expected is.
And he is not going into the pits. He's going to stay out there and continue to try to run and see if he can make the strategy work for him. But his rear wing looks a little worse for wear there.
So that's going to, I didn't think we'd say this, that's going to put Dean Allen into, if he can do it on one stop. I think
really
Dean Allen could be Dean Allen, third in class right now in the 33, with the British flag festooned Corvette. He has to be the favorite right now. Anders Dahl definitely has a stop ahead of him. Fabio Loyola in second GT1 has a stop ahead of him.
Yeah, it will be interesting. It really depends on, for Dean Allen, on what that gap between himself and Anders Dahl is, and how far Anders can stretch it, as if to see if that actually will be an issue. And we got to remember also that if Anders does, there's going to be no real need. I don't know how much fuel Anders is going to have to take on on his last stop to decrease that time at all, but he's going to definitely want to try to lay down some hot laps and try to get far enough ahead. And you may as well run all out, because Anders knows that he's going to be stopping again, so you may as well put it to the floor and try to get as much as you can, ahead. So really interesting too as well to see Dave Garcia not going into the pits with that wing damage. That can be a tricky bit, especially on this circuit with as slick as it is, and the necessary downforce that you need for some of these corners. So looks like we have a prototype in the pits there. And that is actually going to be Yervin Kelly. Yeah, so Yervin Kelly, the one that threw the nasty chop on the GT2 leader, Nick Brisset, is in the pits.
That is actually scheduled stop. We have 45 minutes left in the race. We saw the prototypes go to 50 and 55 minutes. And we also had the GT1 leader in and out.
Yeah, Anders Dahl is in and out.
So that's on schedule for him. Anders Dahl, good on fuel to the end of the race. And Dean Allen, who we think may be able to do it on one stop, maybe not, depends on how well he can save this stint, is well ahead of Anders at this point. Dean Allen just going through the Abbey chicane, Anders Dahl just going through the Vale chicane. So that will elevate Fabio Loyola to the GT1 lead until he makes his final stop.
Real interesting. That was both races I've been covering anyways. The GT1 field has come down to pit strategy and varying strategies amongst the different competitors. So always fun to watch the GT1 cars and their gambling, as it were.
I think Anders Dahl just likes to screw with our heads.
Yeah, Anders, cheeky boy. See if he's going to be able to get back up into the lead. Hopefully, have a little bit of help, maybe from the pits. David Garcia is now third in class in the /78 Corvette, third in GT1. Going to be keeping an eye on him though, because it's going to be interesting to see if that car holds together and if he can keep that thing together when the tires really start to fall off there towards the end.
So his lap times after the incident have looked okay. I mean, he hasn't seen a massive reduction in time, so he might have gotten away with it. Which would be shocking, to say the least, but he might have gotten away with it. But still, Dean Allen ahead of him, so he's, of the two that we think might be able to do it on a single stop, not quite good enough. Just to give you a quick rundown, 89, Bjorn Spindle is your overall leader, 16 seconds ahead of the 05 Radical Honda HPD ARX-01C of Reuter de Kreunen. Tim Mossmans in the 84 HPD is a further, call it 7 seconds back. Nick Thyssen in the 91 iRacing Denmark HPD is 48 seconds adrift of the leader. Those are your lead lap runners for prototypes. Fabio Loyola is in the lead of GT1, having been gifted the lead from David Garcia's off-track excursions and Anders Dahl's early pit stop. We expect one more pit stop from Fabio. Dean Allen in the 33 British flag festooned Corvette is second in class. We think he may not need to stop again, but there's a question mark over that. He stopped with 57 minutes in the race. He would need to make 63 minutes on that tank of fuel. So, possible, but he will have to save heavily. David Garcia in the 8 Black Rebels GM Chevy Corvette is in third after the contact with Derek Schmidt. We also think he might be able to do it on one stop. If he's got any damage to that car, it might limit his top RPMs. It might actually help him make it to the end. I'm not sure. The car looks nervous as all get out, though, in front of Dmitry Sivkov.
Yeah, that was close. That
was very close indeed. The 58 team car of Mikhail Helen, the other Black Rebels Corvette, is in fourth in class. Zlatko Braylik runs out your top. Nick Versteke is your GT2 leader in the 48 Radical Ford GT. And it's a clinic today, really, isn't it? Apart from a close one with Gerben Kelly, it's been no drama at all for Nick. Koen Gerards in the 34 Racing Lions Ford GT is second in class, 20th overall. And the 09 of Robert DeRoy in the other Racing Lions Ford GT is third. Chris Zylstra fourth in the Autodrop Candy Car Ford GT. And Randolph Chenoweth, the Motorcraft and GoPro sponsored car, is fifth in class.
A little bit of chatter between Nick Versteke and Koen Gerards on the radio there. Just talking amongst each other. Respectable races they're both running, so no drama. Looks like everybody's having a good time for the most part.
Yeah, Nick has looked today like he looked at Spa and not at Sebring. At Sebring he was fast, but he wasn't so tidy. Today Versteke has looked absolutely perfect. As I said, the close call with Gerben Kelly, who has been questionable on the road today.
I'm gonna bring it back actually to GT1 with David Garcia, and that car. I don't know how he's not put it in the fence yet, but that car is absolutely out of control. I mean, he was sliding through corners, smoke spewing out of the back tires as Mikhail Helen looks to set him up for the pass in class, which would be for the final podium position in class. And I mean, it's just any wonder that David's been able to keep the car on the track as long as he has and not spin out or hit anything. So this is a bit nerve-wracking on honestly, if I must say, watching this race.
That's a team car behind him. I have to think that overtake will happen fairly easily. But given the fact that we're in range of the last pit stop, you know, you can pit now in a Corvette and make it to the end of the race. The fact that David hasn't really makes me think he's trying to stretch this without stopping. I don't know if he'll be able to, but he's doing his darndest to actually make it happen.
Yeah, it's obvious that with, you know, he's dedicated to the one-stop strategy, which is great for him to try and pull off. But it seems as though even with this problem that he's had with the off-track excursion and all, he's still trying to make this strategy work. And I'm not 100% sure. I mean, he's some distance behind Dean Allen, I'd imagine, and with Dean, you know, set on the same strategy, it's not looking overly favorable. I mean, he might secure some points if he can hang on to it, but you know, he's really, I mean, it's taken all of his skill to keep that car straight and between the lines, that's for sure.
Absolutely. He actually gained distance on his teammate that last lap, 0.7 of a second. But they have Zlatko Bralic in the 23 Corvette sort of slowly closing up behind them and not too far further back.
Garcia's off in the grass. He is well off in the grass, bleeding time there. Looks like around, I think that may have been close.
Yeah, you've got to... That was the Vale chicane.
Not Vale, yep, sorry.
Incredibly easy to overdrive that chicane.
Yeah, he went right through the grass and through the runoff there. Lost position to Helens there, and he's, I mean, you got to applaud him for trying to make strategy work. But I mean, if you want it to work, you need to keep the car between the wires.
Sorry to interrupt. Reports of a rotating Ford GT. That's the 15 of Chris Zylstra, and that's Derek Schmidt again. Derek Schmidt again in the 08 Reddit Racing Machine. Again, tipping a GT car into a spin. Zylstra got away with it better than David. I think he managed to spin and not hit. But I think that'd be downvotes for that Reddit Racing Machine after 2 incidents with GT cars.
Yeah, there, and I don't know if it's just my computer, but again, David Garcia, again putting 2 wheels off in the grass. I'm kind of dumbfounded as I watch this. I don't know if the tires are just falling off, and now the wing damage is starting to play into effect. I don't know, but this guy seems to be having all kinds of problems trying to keep it between the lines and not have any more incidents.
Yeah, at some point you lose less time by pitting than you do by staying out and trying to manhandle that car.
Nice from the chat room. It says Garcia's almost taking the corners like a rally car, and being a rally guy myself, oh good lord, I mean he's completely in the dirt, just throwing that car around. I would almost be willing to place a bet that that car doesn't even see the end. Hell, I don't think he'll see another 10 minutes the way he's going. I mean, he threw it right through the dirt, kicking up dirt. I mean, and it's a slick surface, so.
Yeah, as we see on the right-hand side, the spin, well, Chris Zylstra really being tipped into that spin by Derek Schmidt. Derek Schmidt had given a pretty good account of himself for the first 2 races, but he'll have made some enemies this round. David Garcia, you can't underestimate the skill that this driver has, but he's really looking almost old tire model-ish, really backing that car into the corners, and I do think we're on tune for our mandatory Sebastian Loeb impression.
Well, I win all the rallies. I am 8th-time champion. I now go to Silverstone in the Corvette. Cars more aggressively. So I take it that was good. Should I quit the impersonation business?
Keep your day job.
Alright, done.
Don't quit your day job, Sean.
Alright, well, it looks like you guys will have to put up with me commentating without impressions then.
Well, at least JD didn't bleep you out. I mean, that's a bonus, so it must have been kind of funny.
There you go. So Anders Dahl creeping up on David Garcia then, and we would have to think that would be, we have to think that's going to be for second in GT1 when that pass happens. We expect a pit stop from your first, third, and fourth place runners in GT1. That's the 20 of Fabio Loyola, the 58 of Mikhail Helen, and the 23 of Zlatko Bralic. So Anders Dahl, having made his final stop already, is at worst third in GT2, despite being sixth currently. If we've sort of not paid as much attention to the prototypes as we normally do, well, it's for good reason. The 89 of Bjorn Spindel, your overall leader, 25 seconds now ahead of Roderick Kroinen. At this point, Bjorn really just needs to finish the race. Don't take any risks at all in traffic. You've got enough time. Tim Mossman in third. Tim Mossman's gaining on Roderick Kroinen. Maybe Kroinen has had some drama unseen by us, and indeed he has a bent rear wing. We'll have to look back to see if we can find what might have happened to that car. But certainly, now 4 seconds behind Roderick Kroinen and Tim Mossman, so we might see that start to close up a bit.
And just Anders Dahl in the GT2 there, or GT1 rather, in the 03 Corvette, really coming up now on David Garcia. I've been watching Garcia drive right in front of Bjorn Spindel too. And he's just not keeping that car tidy at all. He is still drifting around corners. I think that perhaps maybe there should be some kind of noteworthy mention as Anders.
Oh wow! That's a chop.
David, yeah, that's a chop.
I
think
that was ugly.
I think that perhaps we should probably, or perhaps race control or the people, the sanctioning body perhaps needs to look at something like this for the future, because he's really become more of a problem on the track than he is a competitor. I mean, he can't keep the cars straight at all. He's drifting around the corners. It's any wonder he's still ahead of Anders Dahl at this moment, and then puts a nasty chop on him to boot. I mean, in any other series, that's grounds for at least a drive-through penalty.
Well, any series but GP3.
Yeah, any series but GP3. We can ask Connor Daly about that one.
Yeah, for those that don't know, GP3, a Russian pilot, lost his rear wing and stayed on the track at Monaco. Very defensively stayed on the track. Normally you have the one move, and that's your move. I think we counted 4 or 5 moves going into the chicane at Monaco. As Anders Dahl takes a look on the outside, but won't get it done. But wound up moving right in front of Connor Daly in the braking zone for the chicane and sent Daly flying nearly over the fence. And Connor Daly was penalized for the incident. The Russian got off scot-free.
I think the Russian actually got fired, though. Or he quit.
He did get fired, but he didn't get penalized by the race officials.
Because he was fired. You can't penalize somebody who doesn't have a job anymore.
Sure you can.
Nah,
Anders Dahl still fighting to get through the 78 damaged Black Rebels Corvette of David Garcia.
And one of the issues that kind of comes about with this, with iRacing and sim racing in general, I mean, it is a proper championship, but there's not a race control that is looking and making decisions like that. Our GT1 leader though, Fabio Loyola, looks like he's come into the pits for his last stop, so he should be good to go till the end of the race, and he should give up the lead to Dean Allen.
Yep, and Nick Versteke, your GT2 leader, is into the pit lane as well for his final stop. So now we're going to start to see the race take hold in GT1. Roderick Kroinen, second in P2 onto the pit lane. Tim Mossman stays out. So your order in P2 is now Bjorn Spindel in the lead, having not made his final stop yet. 84 Tim Mossman's 28 seconds adrift, also not having made his final stop. And Roderick Kroinen in and out of the pit lane now, third, having made his final stop. Nick Thyssen coming through now, not taking his final lap, so he will overtake Croydon. So your order will be at the end of this lap, assuming no further pit stops. Spindle, Mossmans, Thyssen, and Croydon, with only Croydon having made his final stop. So we should see Dean Allen come through and take the lead in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in the 33 British flag GM Chevy Corvette. As we see a close-up of Steve Clays in the 3 Corvette on the right of the picture-in-picture. Steve Clays 10th in GT1, several laps down to the class leader.
Oh, there it goes, number 78, David Garcia coming in the pits now. So he is stopped, obviously not going to help his one-stop strategy. I don't know if he's just finally, just come in and said enough is enough, I can't keep it going, or if the tires are gone, but he is in the pits right now as we speak.
I suspect so. That car was looking fantastically evil. And no amount of willpower at this point was going to keep that car behaving.
I was trying to zoom in on that fan, that cooling fan in the back of them cars. It just amazes me in iRacing, the amount of detail that's put into these cars. Where that fan looked just so real spinning.
whatever happened, Garcia is actually coming back onto the racetrack, so I'm not really sure if he stopped. I don't know what kind of repair time that was, if any, but he is back on the track, and the wing still looks jacked up to me.
Yeah, I think he probably just stopped for 4 new tires. Sort of felt the tires going away with what has to be a little bit of alignment out. So, you know, just get new boots on that car and see how it goes. He'll hope that that's enough to get the car the 8 minutes to the finish.
Watching Bjorn Spindle in the LMP lead and the overall lead for the race here, guy's got some fortitude there as he's really putting it close to some of the grass and AstroTurf. And now, granted, obviously he's a world-class driver so far from what I've watched of the 2 races, but it just does not take much to get out onto that AstroTurf and for things to go wrong for you very quickly, as we've already seen this race.
Yeah, we've seen that AstroTurf claim more than a few cars, both here and Egil Sandfeld Spa, notably, which we missed in our highlight video. But Egil Sandfeld at the exit of Blanchemont just touched the AstroTurf with the right rear tire. Was enough to rotate car 45 degrees to the left and really head on into the green monster, the green wall to the left-hand, to driver's left. Flipped the car once and was miraculously able to drive it back to the pit lane and finish the race. Which I thought the car would have been totaled.
Just making it look easy on a Sunday cruise through the English countryside. As a matter of fact, we should be in the kickoff. Yeah, it should be about 10 minutes into kickoff for England and Italy in the Euro Championship 2012.
I don't remind our viewers of that. We might lose them.
Oh yes, well, I'm not going to mention all the results of the tournament thus far. As you're right, it's probably a sore subject in many of their minds.
Oof, yeah, good point. Moving on. Kugararts is leader in GT2, having not made his final stop. We expect Nick Verstegen to retake the lead in that class once Kuhn makes his final stop. Robert DeRoy in the 09 Racing Alliance Ford GT is currently 3rd, having not made his final stop either. Dean Allen leads in GT1 in the 33 British flag Corvette. We think he's good to go on fuel. Mikhail Helen is 2nd in GT1, having not made his final stop, and we do expect a stop from him. Anders Dahl now up to 3rd in GT1, having already made his final stop. Zlatko Bralic, who was 3rd in GT1, now on the pit lane. Egil Sandfeld will then move up into the 4th position in GT1, but we still need one more stop from Egil. In Prototype 2, it's Bjorn Spindle, and what a clinic he's putting on, 35 seconds over Tim Mossman's. Nick Tisson in 3rd, 1:06 behind, and Broderick Croyden in 4th, 1:15 seconds behind the overall leader. Broderick Croyden, of course, the only one to have made his final stop among the top 4. Onto the pit lane comes the 41 of Neil Heckens, the Racing Alliance GM Chevy Corvette, out of 8th in GT1. Not the day Neil would have liked to have. Ran quicker at Spa, and we thought we'd see more pace out of him here, but at least the finish.
So great race, yeah. So great racing so far. Maybe not what Neil wanted to see. Maybe, well, if you look at a lot of the competitors, not what they want to see. I'm pretty sure you can ask. Same can be said about David Garcia in the GT1, and it looks as though on the set, Koen Gerards has got around Nick Verstegen. So that may have been off of pit stops there. I'm not sure, I wasn't watching the GT2 battle, but he is shown in the GT2 lead at the moment. As he navigates his number 34 Ford GT around the track, as we now close in with just about 20 minutes-ish left in the race.
Yes, that was on pit stops. Nick Verstegen has already made his final stop. We're still waiting for Koen Gerards' final stop. Seeing Bertie mentioned in the chat, Steven Obergaard may have retired from the race. Try to look back and see what might have happened to him. Looks like the Overgaard car just lost connection. So, Overgaard, no dramas other than no connection. Also hearing reports of a rotating 3 Corvette, that would be Steve Clay's. And he's continuing to have his dramas. A spin going into Luffield, a spin in Brooklands on lap 51, and then again he's going to have a spin, or just went straight on at the right-handed Beckett's. So, maybe not the end of the Steve Clays would have hoped for. Certainly looks like concentration may be waning.
David Garcia there had just a real moment with a Ford GTN and ADD as they went through the first complex, and it didn't look like Garcia was willing to yield much room to either car as he continues to push in his conquest to at least secure some points.
Absolutely. We've seen David be a bit with the 3 wides before, earlier in the race going into Stowe, of course. We've had Mikhail Helen in and out of the pits, I believe. Or was that a spin? I believe we may have had a spin for Mikhail Helen, actually. Let me take a look. That would be car 58, who was second in GT2. Yep. Going through Vale Chicane, just overdrove the Vale Chicane, and one of those pathetic nothing can do spins, which ended with the car pointed in exactly the wrong way. Stephen Obegar has rejoined us in the 14 blue and white GM Chevy Corvette, who we just lost from the connection. He's back in the race. Unfortunately, he will have lost a couple of laps from that incident. Second in P2, Tim Mossman's in the 84. Adidas sponsored prototype has been on and off of the pit lane. And we find Nick Tisson, fourth in prototype 2, onto the pit lane in the Peak Performance liveried car.
Overall leader Bjorn Spindle has just come into the pits.
And we find Mikhail Helen, who was P2 in GT1, now onto the pit lane. Of course, now enters in third after that spin in Vale Chicane. That will be Nick Tisson accidentally behind the 58 of Mikhail Helen. And of course, we said your leader, Bjorn Spindel, is on to the pit lane. So we'll see the flurry of pit stops by the top, what was the top three. We'll see Roderick Croynan come back up into second place in class. Excuse me, no, we will not. Tim Mossmans has maintained the position, so Mossmans has passed Croynan through the pit stops. Bjorn Spindel has been out of the pit lane, though, well before Mossmans gets there.
Yeah, he had quite a bit of a gap there over Roderick, so not much he could really do there. The gap was enough for Mossmans to make the stop and come out comfortably in P2.
It looks like we've had Steve Clays retire. And we're hearing reports that the 14 of Overgar just went straight through the grass at Vale Chicane. So certainly we've seen that before today. Cut through the grass at Vale and come back on at the exit of Club. And the 3 car has retired, Steve Clays. We'll look to see if there was any contact or... No, it looks like we just had a spin coming out of Prairie, and we're just going to give up the ghost after that. I don't see any damage to the car. I think that car might have just gotten too tough for Steve to handle. So we now have just 16 minutes left in this race. Bjorn Spindel on 65 laps. We'll wait for about a minute here to see where Tim Mossmans is going to come through. Certainly this looks like a win for Bjorn Spindel point in time. All he has to do is, as we said earlier, just don't make mistakes, don't push too hard, just get the car to the finish. You've got a minute at least.
Gotta hope as well that you don't have a incident with another GT car.
Absolutely, but you're in a position at this point where you can control what you do with the GTs. You don't have to take any chances at all. You can wait for the corner exit to go by. You don't have to try to dive up the inside. The lead in GT1 is just the front straight at this point. Dean Allen in 33 from Anders Dahl in 03. Still waiting to see if Dean Allen can make that one-stop strategy work. the 09 Racing Lions 4 GT of Robert DeBroy on pit lane. That is the third in Class 4 GT. He should get in and out without losing a position. We've also had the 34 Racing Lions 4 GT of Koen Gerards in and out. So that restores the GT2 running order to Nick Verstegen in first in GT2. Koen Gerards is second in GT2, and Robert DeBroy third. Bjorn Spindle's lead is 38 seconds now over Tim Mossman's in the 84. Roderick Croynan in the 05 is just 5 seconds adrift of Tim Mossman, so we may still have a fight for second on our hands. Well, timing is telling us that it's 5 seconds, but it has gotten much larger than 5 seconds this lap. So clearly some sort of problem for Roderick Croynan this lap, as he just about spins it coming through left field. Easy to do, but not what you want to do when you're chasing down second place. And that gap now up to 7 seconds from 5 seconds one lap ago.
Yeah, really interesting, I think, this race, how we've really had such just a spread out field. Only a couple times have we really had any kind of real incidents between cars, fighting for position in terms of, rough driving or blocking or spins. But I mean, for the most part, I mean, it's been a pretty spread out field.
It has, and we're approaching 10 minutes left in this event. We've seen most of the pit stops we're going to see. Not the only pit stop we still have a question mark over is Dean Allen in the 33 leading GT1. We'll take a quick break to set up the race to the finish.
Oh, Spindle! Spindle's off! Oh my god, he just got doored.
And we're back from commercial after seeing the leader, Bjorn Spindle, get door slammed by Steven Obergaard.
Yeah, that was intense. Sorry, I was just watching the watching Bjorn Spindle turn laps, and then wouldn't you know it, door checked right off into the grass. And good job by Spindle to maintain control and not hit anything. But his heart is probably in his throat at this moment.
So to set it up, Spindle has 12 minutes left that he has to turn. He has a 35-second lead over second place Tim Mossman's. The question is that car damaged to the tune of 3 seconds a lap or bald?
That's one of the things that you got to be really cautious about, is that if you take a hit like that into the side, especially on the HPD, it is fragile, and there could be, it doesn't look as though there's any kind of significant damage going forward, but a huge bullet dodged by Spindle so close to the end of the race. And just like I said before, it's not about him maintaining his pace and doing everything right as much as it is everybody else.
Oh, that's the 58 and the 09 coming together at Brooklands. So that's 58 Mikhail Helen and 09 Robert DeRoy coming together at Brooklands. That is 5th in GT1 and 3rd in GT2 having it coming together. As of course all eyes right now are on the 89 of Bjorn Spindle. Will that car still have the pace to make it to the end? That last lap 2 seconds slower than the lap previous.
Yeah, it should have been mainly because of what happened going off and everything. He looks like he's got it back under control, and that is not too devastating. But again, you get around this traffic, and as we've said last week as well in the multi-car racing, you get around that traffic, the other cars, your fate's not always in your hands, as a lot of times it can be an event from somebody else that costs you a victory.
Amen to that.
So it really is just really the process of just dodging everything, honestly.
Spindle now coming by to complete his first lap after the incident. What will be the lap time? The lap time will be, drumroll please, 1:34.595. So that's a second off of his fastest lap of the race. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that car. Somehow he's gotten away with that scot-free.
Yeah, very, very lucky boy Bjorn Spindle is to not have any real significant damage from that incident. I mean, with 12 minutes to go, I mean, you just can't, I don't even know. I mean, amazing job for him to keep the car through the grass and back on track without any further incident. But I mean, it was just, all that work was almost, you know, for naught, basically, off of something that wasn't even his fault. So, good job for him, and let's hope he can continue to dodge the bullets.
So now that we can take our hearts out of our throats for that one, Bjorn Spindle still seems to have this under control, even with the bit of 1-1, we'll call it there. Now watching to see, will Dean Allen be able to make it to the finish without stopping? He has less than 10 minutes to do it. Excuse me, about 8 minutes to do it. If he was going to be short, we would expect him to stop about now. Nick Verstegen in GT2 well ahead of Koen Gerards. Not as comfortable a lead as Bjorn Spindel has in P2, but a comfortable lead nevertheless, roughly the length of the Hanger Straight. As we see a slow motion of the 14 Stefan Overgaard having an off and on through the Magnus Beckett Chapel complex. Seemed like his day started going wrong when he had that disconnection, maybe driving a little bit too hard now. As we look for close battles on the track, maybe for lesser positions. Egil Sandfeld not had the day he would have hoped for. Not sure what happened to him. He qualified only 7th in class. Usually his pace right there with Anders Dahl, and we know that they share setups. So clearly either some sort of drama for Egil Sandfeld or just not been super on the pace in the 86 iRacing Denmark. GM Chevy Corvette.
Silverstone's one of those places where you've either got it or you don't. There's not a lot of middle ground at this track. Oh, and there's Dean Allen going into the pits. Dean Allen, the GT1 leader, is into the pits.
Oh, that's heartbreaking for Dean Allen. We wondered if he'd be able to make it. Well, now we know that that's no. That's as Sean said, your GT1 leader into the pits. That will pull Anders Dahl into the lead. Once again, how does he... can't really say how does he do it with the pit stops. A little bit of an early stop. Really, Dean Allen put the... just about taken out by Sivkov there as he goes through the copse. But yeah, Anders Dahl back into the GT1 lead. And David Garcia at the exit of Club has spun that car again. It looks like this time it might be slightly more damaging than his previous incidents. He spun just at the exit, slid through the grass, and is going to nose straight into the fence.
Yeah, I figured it was only a matter of time before something like that happened. Yeah, but really is breaking for Dean Allen. Couldn't conserve enough fuel, and just minutes away from the end is forced to pit and surrender the lead. Yeah,
so that slots it back into qualifying order, really, for our class leaders. Bjorn Spindel on pole. Bjorn Spindel is your leader in P2. Anders Dahl took your pole in GT1. Anders Dahl is your class leader in GT1. And of course, Nick Verstegen, both your pole sitter and your class leader in GT2. As we have 5 minutes and 20 seconds remaining in this race. So the closest battle we have on track is, I'm not sure actually, Chris Zylstra and Adolf Chenouth are nose to tail on track in GT2. That's 50 from 02, but there's a lap between them.
Yeah, relatively textbook race today here at Silverstone. You know, great job actually by everyone to keep it. I mean, everybody's kind of been hit with some bullets to dodge. You know, obviously, most recent for Bjorn Spindle, terrible, heartbreaking for Dean Allen. Still time. Obviously, something could potentially happen. You know, but it looks like Anders is going to just kind of keep on cruising, and then Nick Versteeg, you know, it's just been another day at the office for him.
What can you say about Nick Versteeg that we haven't already said? I mean, we're running out of compliments for him, really.
Yeah, it's been really good driving in the Ford GT this time.
We'll just quickly cover our retirements for the race. Steve Clays, William Avart, Diedrich Kynes, Pascal Chauveau, Alejandro Bernabe, and Philip Verbert. That was Steve Clays with unknown reason for retirement, actually. William Avart with contact. Diedrich Kynes with hardware difficulties. Pascal Chauveau contact with the 02 of Dennis Garrison. Alejandro Bernabe spun at the exit of Chapel and wrecked the car. Philip Verbert similarly retired with contact. We might have something interesting left yet. Roger Croynan looked like he was going to challenge Tim Mossmans for second. He's fallen nearly 30 seconds back the road and might be falling into the clutches of Nick Thyssen. So that's Roger Croynan, 05, the Radical HPD, only 10 seconds from Nick Thyssen, the 91. And Thyssen, that last lap, was a single second faster. So not enough as we count down to 2.5 minutes remaining in this race, but a single mistake from Roger Croynan at this point would put him right into the grasp of Nick Thyssen.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see quite a few people probably settle down here in the last 2.5 minutes, refine, resign to their fate here. Not going to do anything too dumb, not going to hold anybody up, not going to try to make any unbelievable passes for position, but overall just a good, pretty clean race. A couple things that have stood out as being a bit dumb, to be honest, but things that surely, like for David Garcia, we don't really see, he was running such a great race at Spa. We don't usually see him pushing and running all over the track like that. So hopefully a one-off. It's definitely something that they'll have to keep in the cross-checks for the next races.
Yeah, you have to think that contact with, was it Derek Schmidt we said, I believe, at Coates?
I believe so.
We have to think that contact has really hurt that car's ability to be controllable. As David Garcia, as you said, normally very quick, very in control, very respected in the iRacing series, and no reason to think he'd drive any differently here. So just crash damage, we think, for that car. Of course, he was leading the class when that happened, so that's two that have slipped away from David now. Well, we've got just a minute left in this race. A quick thanks to DigitalRacing.nl, who makes this all possible, and to Derek Spears Designs as well. Of course, DigitalRacing.nl, if you need a sim racing community for the Netherlands, they're your go-to folks. And Derek Spears Designs, fantastic button boxes for any sim racer, really, or any other hobby. iRacing, R-Factor, ARCA, NRO3, or any others. So this will be the white flag then for Bjorn Spindle this time by.
And be sure to stick around as well for the Digital Racing NL post-race show, where we're going to be talking with all the drivers. As we now come up to the white flag.
One lap to go. We've seen absolutely nothing that would suggest Spindle won't take this win. That gap between Croynan and Thyssen has come down to just 8 seconds, but that's still going to need a very big mistake indeed from Roderick Croynan to see anything happen there. Gerben Kelly has run all the way up back to 5th after that early spin. And the top 3 in GT1 looks like Anders Dahl, after his early but scheduled pit stop. Fabio Loyola and Dean Allen will take home third, it seems. In GT2, we see Nick Verstegen in the 48 Radical Ford GT taking his white flag, well in the lead of that class. Koen Gerards comes by now to take the white flag, second in GT2. Robert DeRoy in the second of the racing lines for GTs, well further back, but still looks to be taking third, even after the incident with the 58 of Michael Helen.
Alright, here comes Bjorn Spindle around the final set of corners. What a clinic he's put on today.
Be very patient through Lovefield. Puts the power down one last time. Will the HPD in front of him want to finish on his lap or let Bjorn through? No. Bjorn takes the win at the 2 hours of Silverstone.
Yeah, an absolute clinic all day for him.
Tim Mossman's your second in Prototype 2 just now comes through Brooklands, enters into Lovefield. One last time.
Oh my. Bjorn's car will probably not look that great for post-race as it just went into the tire barrier at like 200. Interesting way to celebrate.
Interesting celebration indeed, as Tim Mossman takes second in the race. I hope Bjorn knows that that incident will count against him in the Green X Challenge. Anders Dahl in 03 about to cross for the win in GT1.
And again,
indeed, there he goes. 3 races, 3 wins for Anders.
Yeah, Anders, I mean, against all odds, it seems as though he wasn't going to win these races. And, I mean, he's just found ways and been smart with strategies.
And there's Nick Verstegen, 2 for 3. Had the disappointment of Sebring, but he's bounced back strong at Spa, and he's put on another clinic here today at Silverstone.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even gonna continue to say anything about that. I mean, we've said it enough. The guy is unbelievable in these GTs. Another fine performance, and I don't expect anything less out of him.
Yeah, you have to think he'll be looking forward to another win at Road Atlanta, even without having started a lap. All right, so your overall results then: Bjorn Spindle, your winner in 2 hours, 1 minute, 12 seconds. For, let's see, how many laps was it? It was 75 laps. The 84 of Tim Mossman second, 33 seconds behind. Roderick Croyden hangs on to third in P2, having looked like a P2 favorite early. Nick Tisson fourth, Gerben Kelly fifth, Matthias van Rieth in sixth, Dmitry Sivkov seventh, Ruud Mulders in eighth, and Derek Schmidt, who didn't have the day he would have hoped for, or really his GT compatriots would have hoped for, in ninth. Anders Dahl is your GT1 winner, followed by Fabio Loyola. Dean Allen in third, I believe that's his best finish of the season. Zlatko Bralic in fourth, I believe that's also a best finish. Michael Helen in fifth. Egil Sandfeld in sixth in what was a disappointing race for him. David Garcia seventh. That's 2 races in a row he's seen slip away, really. He should have won Spa, and he should have been right in it here. Neil Heckens is going to be your last finisher in eighth. Of the Corvettes. Nick Verstegen is your GT2 winner. Koen Gerards second, as they looked all day. Robert DeRoy in third. Chris Zylstra fourth. Randolph Chenoweth, your GoPro driver, in fifth. Dennis Garrison sixth.
Yes, pretty interesting stuff going on in the chat post-race. So quite a few drivers pretty hot under the collar about this one.
So we'll be right back with our DigitalRacing.nl post-race show. Stick around for interviews with your class winners and with our host, Neil Heckens.
Hey, JD here with ETVLive, and let me tell you something. If it's too big for the pickup truck and you need to move it, there's only one trucking company you need to call, and don't bother with the Yellow Pages, cowboy. I'll give you that number in a minute. Manufactured goods, automotive, technical equipment, furniture, even if you need a reefer, Gary Mercer Trucking Incorporated is the only choice, cowboy. With locations in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada, Rancho Cucamonga, California, if you need to move it, store it, and keep it cold, you need to call Gary Mercer Trucking Incorporated. Long haul, short haul, or just across town, Gary Mercer has the best trained and qualified drivers to get your load from point A to point B with professionalism and on time. So remember, Hoss, if it don't fit in a pickup truck, you're going to need a real truck, cowboy. Sponsors of ETV Live's Friday Night Showdown, Gary Mercer Trucking Incorporated, 1-800-668-2980.
Welcome back to Silverstone Circuit. You're here for the DigitalRacing.nl post-race show. We've just seen, well, a fairly straightforward and fairly clinical 2 hours of Silverstone. Wouldn't you say, Sean?
Yep, that was just about as clinic as it goes. Some late race drama with fuel strategy, but nothing outside of the ordinary. For maybe our overall winner, Bjorn Spindle, he might have something to say about that.
Well, Bjorn, you were dominant all day, really. Was it ever in doubt for you?
Well, I was a little scared about Roderick at the beginning because he seemed to just fly through the traffic, but then I seemed to get away and then it was all in the clear, I think.
Yeah, pit stops looked fairly straightforward, and it looked like you were going to threaten for a one stop there, but stuck with two stops.
Did anyone do one stop? Is that even possible?
You did two stops, but the bulk of our P1 field seemed to stop with about 10 minutes, just 10 minutes short of the halfway point.
Huh.
But it looked like a bit of a scare there at the end for you, going through maggots.
Oh yeah, I misjudged, I think it was Stefan Overgaard. I've done that pass on other people, but he seemed to trek out further than other people, so I guess it was my fault though.
And we were certainly surprised to see you take that risk with the lead you had, but the good news is you stuck with the car survived it.
Yeah, I was really lucky. I didn't notice anything with the car.
Yeah, Bjorn, if it's now when you have a lead like you did, I mean, we were talking about 30 seconds pretty much there towards the end of the race. How hard is that for you as to pace yourself, because you're used to going flat and then you start to slow down because you know you've got that gap. You don't want to take unnecessary risks. Maybe explain just how difficult that is.
Well, I always try to be careful in the traffic, no matter where I am in the field and the distances, but when I do something like that, it's just a misjudgment.
Well, that's 2 of 3 races won for you, and you've looked strong on all 3. Congratulations again on your class win, the 2 hours of Silverstone.
Thank you.
Next, we have your GT1 winner, Anders Dahl. Anders, I swear you're trying to give us a heart attack with these early pit stops.
Yeah, it's all part of the strategy, and it seems like it works.
It certainly did. You had to have a scare, though, with Dean Allen. Looked like he was on a one-stop strategy, which we thought was possible, but not quite.
Yeah, I was also a bit scared, so I kept pushing, and then when he pitted, I just relaxed. So.
Now, did you think one-stop strategy was a possibility? As we've seen, David Garcia looked like he was going to try to push for a one-stop, and then obviously Dean Allen. I mean, did that ever cross your mind, or is that just too difficult in a race like this to pull out?
Actually, I calculated a lot if it was possible, but it seems like we're always going to be faster because you had to save a lot of fuel.
You had a good race going with David Garcia early in the race until he had his issue. Did you think you had the pace to beat it outright?
Yeah, I think so. I was never falling behind him, so I think it was just a matter of who pitted the fastest.
Once again, an absolute clinic you've put on here today as well. And I think the rest of the Corvette boys would do well to learn from your pit strategies.
Thank you.
And our winner in GT2, Nick Verstegen. Nick?
Hello.
You're ruining our races, man. You're just absolutely dominating these things.
Well, there was plenty of risk today. I don't. You were calling it a clinical race, but there was far from it for me.
Yeah,
it sounds like it was so different from the cockpit. What was so difficult about it?
Well, because there's so many fast corners on this track, the speed difference is really big there, and I just had a lot of bad passes and dive bombs that cost me a lot of time to Kuhn. But in the end, it was fine.
Yeah, you did have a moment there with a P1 car. You got a nice chop block on the straightaway, and you were rather vocal about that after that happened. Just perils or anything you're going to push further, or?
Do you mean the turn 1 thing? Or
yeah, I believe it was before.
Yeah, it was right down the start-finish line, about halfway down, and then into turn 1. It looked like he pulled right in front of you there, and you had to get on the binders heading into turn 1 much sooner than what you looked like you had planned.
Not that much, actually, but it just I couldn't see him anymore because he was in my dead zone. I only have 3 screens, so I didn't see him anymore, and suddenly my screen was filled with car, and I just panicked a bit. So, well, I think I panicked at exactly my normal breaking point, so in the end it was right.
Well, congratulations again on a convincing victory, straightforward or not.
Thank you.
We also have in the booth with us Roderick Kroinen. I think I got that close to right.
Pretty much.
Roderick, there we go. You looked like you were going to threaten for the win there early, but you fell away as the race progressed. What happened?
Yeah, I first had to get into rhythm, just like on Spa, but once I did, and traffic came up, I really came close to Bjorn. At one point, I think it was 1.9 seconds. Then had some still, the gap was manageable, and I did one extra lap with my first stop, and I think that could have taken me somewhere in the end if I would have done another extra lap in second stint as well, because you need to take less fuel for the last stint. But in my second stint, I got hit by a Corvette who came out of the pit, and that kind of ruined my car. So then my pace dropped, and yeah, I was about 1 second a lap slower than I could, I think, and that ruined my race.
That's unfortunate. We were looking forward to a good dice with you between you and Bjorn.
Yeah.
We'll hope for some better luck for you at Road Atlanta in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, I really hope so too, because I think Bjorn already has his one in the pocket actually, but maybe if he crashes and I can do well there, maybe there's still a chance of beating him. I don't think, but we'll see next time.
It's never over till it's over, my friend.
Especially not with the rumored double points.
Yeah, is it true that double points? Because then anything can happen actually.
Well, it's a great time for me to introduce the host of this whole series, Neil Heckens.
Hello.
Hey, so we were hearing a rumor about double points at Road Atlanta. Is there anything to that?
Yeah, that's true. Last race, big finale with double points.
Well, that'll keep the championship wide open then. Roderick, sorry to see. Congratulations on your podium, but sorry not to see you further up.
Yeah, thanks. Better luck next time.
Absolutely. Neil, not as exciting a race as we had at Spa 3 weeks ago, but a successful race nevertheless.
Yeah, it was pretty clean, I think. I don't know how many retired, but there was a lot. Especially GT1 field was really close. And overall, it was a clean race.
Yeah, I believe we only had about 7 retirements. So fewer than we had at Spa, although you could say it's a less challenging track than Spa.
Yeah, indeed. That's pretty good.
Yeah, your race maybe not as good. Certainly not the pace you would have hoped for.
No, it was really, really frustrating. I felt like I was driving a stock car, especially in the high-speed corners.
I hate that feeling, especially in the Corvette.
Yeah, it was really ridiculous. And then I thought I have a 1 lap advantage over Stefan, so I thought, well, I'm going to get some new tires.
That seems sensible enough. So
Yeah.
we're looking forward to a, how long is the race at Road Atlanta? 2.5 hours, is it?
Yeah, indeed.
And that is in 2 weeks' time. Same bat place, same bat channel on ETVLive, Channel 2, the Road Racers.
Yep.
Oh, thanks again to our sponsors, DigitalRacing.nl, Derek Spear Designs, the VRC Mark II Virtual Racing Seat MTCO Gaming Servers, Gary Mercer Trucking, and of course the ETVLive Broadcasting After Show. I've been Sean Pivick, alongside Sean Petchin. I suppose I still am Sean Pivick, actually.
I started
John
to say, what happened?
John Weston and Booth are at the director's chair doing all of our fantastic camera work for us. And JD Webb, our sound engineer. That's all from Silverstone. Thanks for staying with us. Bye for now.
Thank you.